Hello, my name is Megan Trout. I am working with Paris Davis, Vivian Duran, Deandra Wilson, and Ayanya Matthews for the arguments for gun control. So our first point is peace overall. Peace overall is just needed in the world in general. When you're peaceful, you're quiet, calm, and soothing, but guns promote loud noises, uneasiness, anxiety. It causes people to freak out. So John Gudenzi wrote an article allowing guns on university campuses, and he wrote that just someone having a gun in a classroom would cause people to be uneasy and have anxiety because you never know when someone's going to pull out that gun and use it. He also wrote a quote that said, if 400 students in one room have a gun, there is no way anyone would feel safe. And that's very true because I wouldn't feel safe with another student in my classroom having a gun. I put the article there as well. And then Martin Luther King said in King's Letter from Birmingham jail, there is a more excellent way of love and nonviolent protest. So he is saying that peace is needed instead of violence. Our next point that we have is school shootings. Now, school shootings is a big issue nowadays. School shootings have actually increased over the last 20 years, and that is a big problem. The U.S. has had alone 1,316 school shootings since 1970, and it's just getting higher and higher every year. Ever since the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings have increased by 18%, and that's a very scary thing for us to just send our kids to school or even going to school ourselves. It's not very safe.
Issues with ease of access and illegal purchase of weapons. Just about anyone can illegally purchase any type of firearm, and it isn't known until after the execution of a crime or shooting takes place. Tighter registration, purchase laws, and regulations could possibly prevent the wrong person or someone not authorized to sell firearms from committing future crimes. Someone illegally purchasing guns and possibly reselling them may not be educated on gun safety and won't stress the importance of gun safety to a customer either. The terms of purchase for firearms are very loosely regulated. For the seller, making the sale is the primary goal, not the safety of the customer or the public. I think a CHL class should be required for each gun purchase in our nation, as well as amping up the material taught in these courses to include legal ramifications of committing a crime with a firearm, as well as a mandated mental health screening and clearance. Every town has supported laws that prohibit domestic abusers from obtaining firearms. Internal research produced by Everytown includes that states that require background checks for private handgun sales have lower rates of intimate partner gun violence than the states that do not require background checks. According to the group of Everytown supported the passage of laws intended to block convicted domestic abusers and people subject to domestic violence's restraining orders in 6 states in 2014. These states include Louisiana, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Vermont, Washington, and Wisconsin. While some states have taken initiative, we are still very far away from total gun safety in America, even in 2020. However, we closely regulate so many other life-threatening weapons and substances. As Martin Luther King Jr. said in his Letters from Birmingham jail, here comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over and men are no longer willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. Men who feel oppressed or aggravated by society are no longer willing to accept despair and take justice into their own hands. Some of these people do so by illegally purchasing and using firearms in crimes against unknowing and undeserving citizens of our nation. Mental instability in obtaining a firearm. Background checks and licensing do not require psychiatric history or evaluation to obtain a license to carry or even purchase a gun. They require only certain items to be met, such as classes to carry and obtain license and a payment of a fee. Mass shooters often refer to an insanity plea if sent to trial, therefore not convicted of and punished to the full extent of the law. A shall issue jurisdiction is one that requires a license to carry a concealed handgun, but where the granting of such licenses is subject to only meeting determinate criteria laid out in the law. The granting authority has no discretion in the awarding of the licenses, and there is no requirement of the applicant to demonstrate good cause. The laws in a shall issue jurisdiction typically state that a granting authority shall issue a license if the criteria are met, as opposed to laws which the authority may issue a license at their discretion. Typical license requirements include residency, minimum age, submitting fingerprints, passing a computerized instant background check, a more comprehensive manual background check, attending a certified handgun firearm safety class, passing a practical qualification demonstrating handgun proficiency, and paying the required fee. These requirements vary widely by jurisdiction, with some having few or none of these and others having most or all. The following are shall issue states: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, District of Columbia, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island for permits issued by local authorities, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. The Territory of Guam is also a shall issue with the passage of Bill 296 in Puerto Rico as of 2020.
Hi, my name is Vivian Duran, and I'm doing suicide rates. In the U.S., most people who die of suicide use a gun, and most deaths by gun are suicides. In 2017, over half of the nation's 47,173 suicides involved a firearm. A 2015 study also found a strong association between the estimated gun ownership rates in American cities and rates of both overall and gun suicide, but not with non-gun suicide. Differences in the overall suicide rates across cities, states, and regions in the United States are best explained not by differences in mental health, suicide ideation, or even suicide attempts, but by availability of firearms. So, as Niche states, to refrain mutually from injury, from violence, from exploitation, and put one's will on par with that of others. This may result in certain rough sense good conduct among individuals.
Hello, my name is Deandra Wilson, and today I will be joking about the poaching of animals. And before I jump into it and tell you all the negative and stuff that it has on our economy and environment, I would like to let you know what poaching is. Poaching of animals basically is when a person kills the animal illegally, basically. And one of the many negative effects right now would be the decline in the tiger population. And due to the decline, which was very, very, very low, they're in danger of extinct now, and that's very bad because tigers are a key predator, which means they help balance like the prey population and keep it under control. And this also keeps the entire ecosystem balanced. So without the tigers and them going almost extinct, it is messing with our ecosystem basically. Next, I'll be talking about the gun trading and the laws behind it, which I think that everything that I saw when I was looking at gun trading was very good. They were very precautious when they're at a dealership and stuff like that. It's just that we will also have to worry about people that have guns that are what am I trying to say? Not going about getting the guns the right way with getting their license and getting them off the streets, basically. But I'll be talking about the dealerships today and what they can and can't do. So a dealership cannot sell to anyone under the age of 18 because it's illegal. You will be charged with a state felony in the state of Texas. And a dealership also cannot sell to anyone under, well, basically anyone under the age of 21. You are not allowed to like have a gun, which is, I think is good because you're still growing, it's still going through that phase of growing up. And it's against the law for the non-dealers to transfer any handgun to a non-dealer who is in a different state. And then anyone engaging in selling the business or buying firearm must be a federally licensed firearm dealer and must maintain every record of their firearms that they have or transfer it to another person.
terrorism. Terrorists can evade the watch by buying guns online or at a gun show. Domestic terrorist mass shooters have attacked in Thousand Oaks, Pittsburgh, and Parkland, and these three killers had used semi-automatic guns. Studies have shown that the domestic terrorist rate has went up in the U.S. Loose license and background checks. Background checks prevent people that are ineligible to buy firearms so they won't be able to handle them. Over 3 million people have been denied by the FBI federal system check to transfer firearms. 25 states issue permits or license that exempt the holders from taking the federal background requirement test.